Hello everyone, welcome to the meetup. I'm your host, Iyanna Tucker, and today we have here our own advisor of PTK, Valerie Burge-Hall. Woo! And today, I have her here today because I want to let everyone know how great she is, and I want her to come here and actually explain what PTK is to her and why people should join. And I decided to create a few questions for her, and I came up with a couple that's pretty good in my eyes. I hope it is to her as well. So she hasn't seen them yet, but I'll go ahead and give her these questions. And before we start, Dr. BurgeHall, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I started at Thomas Nelson as an adjunct professor in health in 2010. I became full-time in health in 2011. And currently I still am teaching. I still am working within the division, but, have some other extracurricular activities, not really extracurricular, but extra jobs, including having the honor really and the privilege to serve as the PTK advisor. I don't know if you want personal stuff, but I am married and have two children that I like to call the dynamic duo. They both are teens, and so they help prepare me for the challenges that I may face in the classroom because they keep me on my toes. So that's me in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you for that. Well, moving on to our first question for today. Well, you already explained yourself, so can you please just tell me a brief description of your personal journey with PTK and how do you discover your passion for being a part of this chapter at Thomas Nelson?
So I am a person who loves working with students that's in the class, and hopefully those students that I work with in the class can feel my passion for them even outside the class, because I think community college students are the brightest, the ones who have the greatest level of tenacity and perseverance, because you're trying to juggle life, you're trying to juggle school at the same time, and there's some challenges that come in both of those camps. And so when the opportunity presented itself, I can't remember exactly what happened. I know that Ms. Katrina Bailey, who now is an advisor here and one of our divisions, she actually was the advisor for PTK, but I think a person who was a faculty member who was her co-advisor ended up stepping down. So it was in the middle of the year that I was invited to be a part of this just because of my passion with working with students and that kind of thing. And I had expressed this interest to my dean at the time that not only did I want to be in the classroom, but I also wanted to have an opportunity to work with students outside. So what better group to work with than PTK? And so that's when I started. I think that was it was February of 2016, if I remember correctly. So I was brought on with Ms. Bailey, and she taught me everything I know, but don't hold that against her. She's really an excellent teacher, and she bleeds PTK colors. So hopefully I'm doing her justice by saying that. And so that's kind of how I started with PTK, and I have not looked back since. I think for me, it is this idea that you can help nurture what's already there. The PTK students that I've worked with, they have such great leadership, they are creative, they're personable. And then I think the fun part for me is for me to identify some gifts and some talents in them that they don't know they have. And then opportunities just present themselves. And I say, well, hey, have you thought about X, Y, and Z? And because they're so gracious, they usually say yes. And then they find out that, hey, this is something that I never would have done had I not had this experience with working with PTK. And, of course, me encouraging them to do it. So I think it's a win-win. I smile often because of the things that happen with PTK.
Thank you. I definitely agree that you have a passion for helping students and others around you because, yes.
Thanks.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to our next question.
Okay.
Please give us a little bit of history about the PTK development over the years since you've been in PTK as the advisor.
Okay, so I had to look it up because I couldn't remember when PTK started on our campus, and I was thinking it was 1972, but it was 1970.
Oh,
So
okay.
then I was like, oh my, it's like 50 years old and we didn't even do anything, but it was in the midst of the pandemic. So I guess that's why we missed that. So I can tell you that's when we started. The college started just a couple of years before. So PTK has been basically a part of the college's fabric since its inception, which I think that speaks volumes that we still are here. As far as my experience, again, I have met students who have challenged me to grow as an individual. I have met students that, once they've accomplished things, that I've been right there to celebrate their achievements. I've been there to see individuals navigate challenging situations, academically or personally. And all of those things have made it a worthwhile experience for me. And my hope is that in some small way, I've impacted their lives for the better. So I've loved it. Can I say that every day that I've worked with PTK, I've gone home with a smile, or I've been at home and thought about it with a smile? No, there have been some times that I've had wrinkles on my forehead and said, okay, how can we do this better? How is it that, we can communicate this? Because one thing I want people to understand is, even though I'm the advisor, it really is a student-led organization. And so I want students to lead. I don't want to be the one making the decisions. That's not my role. I am to help support you. I'm there to guide you. If I need to do network, logistics, things like that, to support the efforts and the activities that you're doing, that's what my role is. It's not about me telling students what to do and how to do it. And so when I first came on, that was kind of a learning experience for me. And I can speak to this current leadership team. You all are fantastic. The ones that I've worked with have been wonderful, but then there have been some other leadership teams or leaders on the team that they didn't understand what that word leader meant. And they didn't understand, what an honor it was to be chosen as a leader, and their commitment needed to show that. And so I've had to kind of navigate those waters, but I honestly can say, for the last couple of years, I've truly been blessed with phenomenal leaders. And so again, those are the days that I come home smiling and I start thinking about how can we, do things better. And I don't have to think about it, because you as leaders have come and said, this is what we need to do, or can we do X, Y, and Z, or what do you think about? And so that's been phenomenal for me.
Yes, I definitely agree. I feel like you give the executive board a chance to actually explore themselves and actually talk to you and get some support on what they need, and just go with it, roll with it.
Yeah, I'm glad that message is coming across.
Yes. Well, because I understand, I know for me, I'm supposed to be a leader, and I don't mind being the leader, but I just want to have, you're like my backbone right there in the corner, so, if I have any questions or anything, I'll reach out to you, and then I'm like, okay, I got this. That's fine. She know I got it. She trusted me. I trusted her. And
right.
Yeah.
Right. We definitely are a team. And so, and I appreciate that. I love the creativity that you have. I love your willingness to take a risk, because being a leader absolutely is about risk taking. And your motive is always, what is the level of excellence that we can bring to whatever we do? And so I will support that 110%.
Yes. We always got to, not perfection, but perfection.
We strive for it. We may not reach it, but we're going to strive. We're going to do the best that we can do with whatever situation we're in.
Yes. I definitely agree with that. All right. Thank you for that one. And, well, since you already touched on, being a part of PTK, what is the most interesting part about being an advisor with the Phi Theta Kappa, Phi Sigma chapter at Thomas Nelson? Is it something specifically you like, or you feel like you can be an advisor at any other college, or specifically it's the actual community college at Thomas Nelson?
I don't know. There's a lot in that question there. So let me just start off with what the first thought that popped in my mind.
Oh, that's fine. This one just came off the dome itself.
Right. I was like, there's a lot in that. So let me see what I can do with it. I think for me, again, it is really about seeing students develop into the essence of who they are. And that development brings creativity with it. It introduces me to new ideas. I mean, I like this podcast, for example. I don't even really know how it happened, but it happened. You know, it was like a conversation and, oh, well, you know someone. And, you know, at that point, Deborah was president, and I just gave her the look like, don't you want to do this? And she said yes. And she was like, I have no clue as to what I'm doing. And I'm thinking, neither do I, but I know we both can do this. And so just to see how it's evolved, and now you're with it, and Sheethel and that kind of thing. So, and Morgan, I think, is going to even be a part of the team. So looking at that, you know, just how one little thing can happen, it's like a ripple effect. And so that's been exciting for me, not only with you as students and leaders and individuals, but then I also, as an advisor, have this opportunity to connect with advisors at other colleges. And because PTK is such a specialized group, I just am blown away with when we have the leadership events and things like that. We've done honors and action. They have an actual training and conference that I've had an opportunity to attend. And just to see how their creativity married to their scholarship can create this beautiful, you know, project, it's just phenomenal for me. So I think it's this opportunity not only to get to know students that I have not taught, you know, like Deborah I had taught, but students I haven't taught, I get to meet with you. I get to kind of hear what your stories are outside of PTK. So then that gives me even a clear advantage of what students may be dealing with in my classes. And so then I start, you know, making my lessons tailored to that and the activities tailored to what's relevant to students, you know, so that helps. And then this idea of scholarship and leadership, it's like you're the best and the brightest that we have to offer. It doesn't matter if you're from Thomas Nelson or from another VCC school or somewhere, another two-year college, but just to see all of these great minds melding together to come up with things. And it's not just about you making an A. Okay, that's great. But it's also like, how am I helping my community? How am I making an impact on my campus community and the community at large? And that is a huge part of my heart, is service. And so I think all of those things are just benefits for me.
All right. I think that's very good, actually, considering the community college and the university, but you can still do all the same thing at one community college. And
right.
All right. Thank you. Now, my next question for you is, after being a part of PTK at Thomas Nelson, what are the next steps for students afterwards? Like, how does it work?
So it is really only for students who, let me rephrase that. PTK, the active membership, is for students who, you know, meet the criteria and they're still within their program of study, like at the community college or the two-year college. Afterwards, though, for people who are thinking about transferring, a lot of times, because you already are identified as a PTK scholar, you may get some perk if you're transferring. For example, you may have a fee waived on an application. You may be put in a special pool of individuals to receive scholarships because you already are a PTK scholar. And so that's on the academic transfer side. I think if you're just going into the workforce after you finish Thomas Nelson or wherever you're in PTK, I think the skills that you've learned about scholarship, about service, about fellowship, about things like soft skills. People don't know to say good morning when you walk into a workplace or when you're about to start an interview or something like that. These are skills that employers are looking for. And I think because you've had this exposure to all of these things in PTK, that these are life skills that will make you more successful. I've actually been at an event a few times, the open house, when we were actually doing them on campus before COVID, and people come over when they see that it's a PTK table and they bring their children who are thinking about coming to Thomas Nelson, they bring them over to the table and they're like, I'm a part of PTK, you've got to do this. And then we start planting that seed before they even a Thomas Nelson student about what PTK is and how you can qualify to become a member and that kind of thing. And so just to have that kind of legacy that parents really are holding on to their experiences with PTK and trying to encourage their students to do that, I think that speaks volumes of the organization, first and foremost. And so I think it's those kinds of things that just make me go, wow, yeah, this is absolutely something that people, it's not just for now, it's the seeds that are planted now will actually flourish and blossom later in life. And so the good part about PTK, though, is even when you've gone on to your 4-year institutions or gone into your workforce, then you can certainly become an alumni member, which means you just pay a small fee. And that fee actually goes to help provide scholarships for students who are in programs of study. So I think you can still be connected even after. So I just wanted to let people know that once you finish PTK, it is something that's going to help you for your life. But if you want to give back, you have the opportunity by serving in the alumni chapter.
Okay. And I have one question for you. So for the alumni chapter, you just pay like the fee like every month or something?
No, actually, I think it's only once a year, and I think it's about $10 or $15. So once you do that, that money will help when we do the leadership conferences, when we do, what's the other one? Honors and Action, when they do conferences for the region, which our region consists of colleges in Virginia and West Virginia. The monies that are used to kind of help fund those conferences sometimes come from the Alumni Association. If not, they're going to bring you great gifts. And so if you're participating in those kinds of things, the door prizes and things like that are coming from that. And then they also will provide scholarship opportunities for students. So if you need a membership scholarship, or it may be a scholarship if you're trying to go into the workforce and you need a uniform, or you're going to a 4-year and you need help with your books, then scholarships can be made available through the Alumni Association.
Okay. So for the Alumni Association, is it like on the same PTK.org?
I do think they had, yes, they do, because I think it's right beside the advisors tab. There's an alumni tab, but if you're staying in the area and you want to make sure your dollars and efforts and contributions are coming back to this area, you need to just look. You probably can just do a Google search for Virginia, West Virginia PTK alumni. And I can get, if you need that information, I can always get it too.
Okay, yeah, I think I will look into being an alumni when I leave, and then possibly being a part of Phi Beta Kappa when I go to the university.
Absolutely. Just because you have PTK on your radar, they're going to start looking at you as soon as you come in.
Okay, great. All right, thank you, Dr. BurgeHall, for that. Our
welcome.
Next question is, well, I understand that there's scholarships opportunity for students that are a part of PTK. Can you please tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. In the fall and in the spring, and sometimes, in other times of the year, but the main times are fall and the spring. So for students who are thinking about transferring to a 4-year, they're planning to transfer to a 4-year the following fall, they do have scholarships like Geico, Coca-Cola, like major industry and businesses are giving to the International Office for PTK in order for students to be able to, hopefully qualify and get some of these grants. There are also individuals who have a passion for PTK and have lots of money that they have scholarships named after them because they've donated so much money. And so for those individuals who are in PTK and they're going to stay at the community college or 2-year college in the fall instead of transferring, then in the spring, most of those applications become available. And so you can just go to the www.ptk.org, and there's a tab that says scholarships, and it'll ask you, because they even have scholarships for individuals who are entering into the workforce when they finish their programs of study. And for us, it was new. I think this is the 2nd or 3rd year that we've had in the fall that individuals who are going to the workforce, I think we had up to possible for students who could qualify for those. And so I really wish that individuals would apply. You do not have to be a PTK member for all of these scholarships. So I would just encourage any student looking at either transferring or continuing their education or even workforce, just to go to the PTK website, click on that scholarships. It'll ask you, like, I'm planning to transfer, I'm planning to enter the workforce, and based on what you click, they'll start showing you some possible scholarships that you may be qualified to apply for.
Yes, I think you guys should definitely check that out. Free money, you gotta take it.
Yes, do not leave money on the table, ever.
Ever, yes. I agree, Dr. BurgeHall. All right, thank you for talking about the scholarships. And now for our next question I have for you. Please give us an insight about your executive board receiving 5-star status.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop,
Okay.
whoop.
Yeah, every time I hear that, I smile. As a matter of fact, I was on the PTK website earlier today, and I saw that it said, in progress, 5-star, last level 5-star. And I was like, oh, congratulations for that. So PTK has different levels from 0. No one talks about that. But from 1 to 5, we'll talk about that. Like 1 is basically you say you have a chapter. We're trying to figure out what your chapter is doing. To 5 is you say you have a chapter and you're doing things that we're asking you to do. You're doing research, you're doing community service, you're meeting, having your general membership meetings. All of those kinds of things are important. And so in order to get that 5-star status, the 2 major things that had to be done within the year, you had to do a research project, which is called Honors in Action. And we did that. And we finished it, and so now we're in the process of getting the word out to the campus community even more. I know that there has been a podcast that kind of talked about Honors in Action and the college project, but I want to make sure that, we get it out to as many people on our college campus as we possibly can. And that was looking at, the research project was looking at kind of how students are faring in this virtual world. What has been the impact of virtual education versus traditional classroom instruction when you're actually face-to-face in a building. And so I'm not going to talk about the results, but, I think all of us were enlightened by that. And I encourage you to listen to that podcast or listen to the replay if it's already aired. The other part that is mandatory is the college project, and that is looking at the service. What are we doing for service? And I know that this Meetup podcast became the focus for that because students were feeling isolated. This became an idea, and we, thank Mr. Worthy and Ms. Riley and all of the hands, on deck to make this possible. That yes, we absolutely want to stay connected with students, and we want to talk to them about things that are relevant. You can talk about things all day long about, these are the 5 principles of how to study, and that's important. But, if I'm feeling alone or I'm feeling nobody understands the struggle that I'm in, then you're not going to understand those 5 P's to help you study your academics. And so I think this podcast has been a really good merger for that you talk about things that students are interested in academically and socially. And so that was something that had to be done in order to qualify for 5-star. And both of these things were major lifts or heavy lifts, we would say, but this team rose to the occasion. Shito, as she served as our chairperson for the college project, the Honors in Action project, she kept us on a timeline. She was making sure that, the entire membership was informed. I was working with Ms. Cook and then Dr. Rayrig, who are in student affairs, and Ms. Cook is our co-advisor, to make sure that they knew from the administrative standpoint kind of what was going on. And so this wasn't a project that was only around students. We had IRE with Ms. Terry Allen and Mr. Stephen Felker helping us with survey development and looking at results. So this was a project that stretched beyond the classroom, beyond students, to administrators, and to lots of different individuals on campus. So I think that was pretty cool. And then other things that you had to do, you had to make sure that you did some award nominations for different individuals. And so I'm expecting that we're going to get good news about all of those. But once you've done all of these things, then you're eligible for 5-star status. And so I can tell you that there have been years that PTK chapters have not done it. So again, it is kudos to this executive team for the effort and their passion, and for the membership, for, those people who helped make these things come to pass. I'm proud of you.
Proud of you too. Yep, I'm proud of the whole team, because it took some work. But we can't let anything stop us from achieving our goals. So we had to work harder to get it. And right. The woman power was in there. We could have had some males in there too, but it was mostly woman power.
Right. We invited them. They just didn't come. So let's put a shout out. We need males to help.
Yes.
We need males from PTK. Let's do it.
Yes. Please come to the meetings, the general membership meetings. We're going to have them on the third Tuesday of the month, 2 to 3 p.m. It shouldn't take too long, just to give you some brief information about what's going on in PTK. And you are a member, so you should come to the meeting. But I understand stuff happens. It's all right. All right. The next question I have for you: how has COVID-19 changed your experience as an advisor with PTK?
How can COVID-19 not change any of us? Okay. I think once this pandemic is over, we should never speak of it again. Okay.
Yes,
I'm just going to say that.
I'm with you on that one.
I think it goes again back to, I know I sound like a broken record, but it really caused us to become more creative. Like, it's so much easier when I'm walking to the subway or I'm walking to the library to see a PTK student say, hey, how are you doing? How's everything going? Are you going to come to the service project on X, Y, and Z? Or let's set up a bake sale, for 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now. We can do it out in front of the subway at this time. It's so much easier to do that when we're all in the same space. But now we're scattered everywhere, and we don't have that collective meeting space outside of our meetings. And so I think just that whole idea of, okay, how are we going to do this? Are we going to do Zoom? Or, and I'm sure I can't attest to this, but I would imagine some clubs just fizzled because they didn't want to go virtual. They didn't want to do this extra. But again, a testament to the leadership team, and Deborah was a big part of this as she was president, making sure that, and you're carrying on that legacy too, Iyanna, making sure that people feel welcomed, making sure that we're consistent with our meetings, making sure Rebecca, who's serving as our secretary, is really great about making sure that anything we're doing, even the executive board meetings, anyone possibly could come, but it's usually for the executive leaders. But we're posting that information, like here are the minutes from that, here are the meeting times. So if members want to come, they feel welcomed. And yes. So I think what this has caused us to do is to think outside of the box and ways that we can encourage members to become more involved, like even with this idea of the engagement plan. It's been there, but we really haven't used it. But that's been something that you have been very passionate about. Yep, let's put this engagement plan out. Let's let people know that if they're going to participate with PTK, then they can win some prizes that, matter. Like you could get things to help you with your regalia so that you can show how proud you are to be a PTK member. So I think just those kinds of things are special touches. And, most recently we had this conversation about fellowship. Especially after seeing what the survey was saying about how students are feeling disconnected with our Honors in Action project. We're looking for ways to fill that void. Podcast is great, but let's just have some fun. Let's just kick back, relax, laugh. And so, the social hour that's coming up is going to address that need. So I think COVID forced us to think differently and act differently.
Yes, I definitely agree. Well, in the virtual environment, you have to actually try to create different ways to communicate with people either way. So, like you said, instead of just going across to the subway and seeing a student, you have to actually reach out through emails and try to get phone numbers and emails again just to communicate with many people around, and especially in the Canvas shell. It's a whole lot of stuff that come along with like being in the virtual environment. But I feel like as a team, we actually adapted to it, and we after a couple months, you get used to it. So like it's like you're in there, like swimwear, you're in there. Yep.
Yeah.
So
I hadn't heard it put that way, but yes, I agree.
Okay. Our next question. Why do you think students should join PTK?
Because we're the best and the brightest ever. Not only that, I mean, but you're real people. And I don't know if people, I hate to say that there's this negative connotation that if you're a scholar, then you're no fun. I think this group is a lot of fun and you are still scholarly. And so I think that's a benefit. I think things like the scholarship, there are some scholarships that are only available for PTK members. And so I think that that's something that we need to kind of make sure that we're aware of. I think there are things like you just completed the Edge, and that was awesome. With the Edge, you could actually, learn some soft skills, learn about transferring before you got there. So there's some life skills that you can get from being a member as well. And you get to meet really cool people, most importantly.
Yes, I agree. Especially even in a virtual environment, you still get to meet pretty good people through Zoom in these little boxes. Yep.
Yes.
All right. And our next question we have, please tell us about how students get inducted or involved in PTK.
Okay, so every fall and spring, and we've talked about maybe doing it in summer, but of course, that conversation happened pre-COVID. And so we didn't do it this past summer, but we will send out, I ask for a list of students who have completed at least 12 credits, are in a program of study, and they have a 3.5 GPA. And once that list is created, we send out invitations, email invitations, and students are invited to participate, and they can join anytime during that semester if they decide maybe that semester is not for them, because there is an $80 membership fee. For whatever reason, if they say, I can't afford that, I don't think that's a priority right now. If they're going to be here, for 2 or 3 more semesters, they'll probably get an email invitation the same way that they got it the first semester. And so that's what happens with the invitations. Once they accept membership, they are PTK members unless they fall below a 3.0 GPA. If you fall below that 3.0 GPA, then you no longer are qualified to be a PTK member. As far as induction, we have inductions. The ceremony, a lot of people are familiar with the National Honor Society from high school. The induction is very similar to that. It's a very solemn, serious, actual ceremony, but I think it also is very inspirational. And so we usually do that in the spring and April of every year. Of course, we couldn't do it in 2020, but we do have plans to do it for April 21st, I think is the date. You can correct me.
Yes, correct.
Okay. April 21st of 2020, we're going to do a virtual induction for members. And so, again, when I looked today, I think I saw that 24 members have already joined this semester, if I remember correctly. Right. And invitations just went out end of last week, beginning of this week. So I'm pretty impressed. I think we're going to have an awesome crew this year.
Yes, I think you are. And when I get a chance, I will reach out to you to remind me, but to reach out to the new inductees that come so we can get a new executive board on the team.
Yes. Absolutely. I do have Kira on most of the emails that I send. I try to send a little welcome announcement to let students know that, welcome to Phi Sigma, and then that they're going to be added to a Canvas shell. And I do put Kira as the vice president. I put her on the email and say,
okay, great. That's fine. Yep. Okay, well, I know for a fact I'm not going to leave you hanging, so we're going to have to make sure this team is decent.
That's right. When I leave. That's right. We know that Rebecca's going to stick around, so that's good. I love continuity.
Yes.
I think that's something that strengthens this board as well. And so I'll look forward to seeing who else we can add to the team.
Yes, me too. And I'll be a part of the Alumni Association, or if you need me to do anything or come back through a Zoom meeting, or possibly if it's in person, I will come back and visit,
Okay.
And maybe give a virtual high five or something.
And you may be speaking at the PTK induction next April. You never know with me.
You never. Yes. Okay, and finally, do you have anything else to add for our audience today?
Let me get my thoughts together. So what I really want to say is, strive to become a PTK member, not just because of the status that's going to be on your transcript, but because of the lifelong skills that you'll get and the lifelong friendships that you'll get. It really is a good mix of these 4 pillars that will take you far in life: scholarship, fellowship, service, those kinds of things, and leadership. Those are the things that will propel you to be successful in life. And so I suggest that you do that. Don't become discouraged if first semester, you don't have that 3.5. We've talked about having honorary memberships for individuals who may not have that 3.5 yet, but they're interested in PTK. And so that may be something that we say, yes, we absolutely want to do, if we haven't already said yes to that. And so I think that kind of encourages individuals like, I actually can do it. And then you'll meet people who, if you're struggling in calculus, you may meet that person in PTK who eats, sleeps, and drinks calculus and can break it down to you. And so looking for these opportunities again to build relationships, I think if you come in with that mindset, not just like, what can I get out of it? And that's one thing, as a closing thought, I would say, as for the PTK members, what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. And that's something that Katrina Bailey taught me as soon as I became her co-advisor. What you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. So if you just want it to have it on your application, that's the only benefit that you're going to get. But if you want it for all of these areas in your life to develop, then that absolutely will happen. And it can happen with your schedule being what your schedule is. So I encourage people to strive to become members for all of those benefits.
Yes, I definitely agree. I think people should participate, not just for the status, but you can learn some new things in your life, especially during this COVID time. Why not learn put new things in your life when you got, well, not saying you don't have nothing to do, but it's a lot of stuff going on nowadays. I mean, life's starting to open back up anyway, but you can still fit a little PTK in if you need to, some fellowship, like just talk and communicate. Nothing better to do than talk, right? So, yeah.
Or listen, one of the two.
Yep.
Or listen.
Yep, talk and listen is perfect, yep. And keep your ears open. Well, thank you, Dr. BurgeHall, for joining us today and for all the great information you provided for us today. And, well, before we end, I would like to wish you a happy birthday.
Thank you very much. And thank you so much for being such a gracious host and having me. I certainly have enjoyed my time, and I look forward to, of course, continuing our relationship. I don't have any doubt about that, but looking for opportunities just to connect with students. If you need more information about PTK, or if you just have a question about how do you navigate schedule making, those kinds of things, I know as well. So you can always just, send me an email and I will be happy to help you. I want to see as many students as want to be successful, be successful. And if I can help in any way, I'm glad to do so.
Yes, and me too. I like to help too. Mm-hmm.
You do.
All right. Thank you for our listeners for tuning in to the meetup today, and have a nice day.